You ever hear a splash so loud, it sounds like the universe itself just snapped? That's what it was like the morning my son's seizure alert dog Maverick got hurled into the neighbor's pool right in front of my eyes, and I swear the whole world just froze. My boy Ezra, he's 7 already, in the throes of a grand mal seizure on the hot concrete, and the only person standing there with dry hands and a satisfied smile is Karen Whitmore Essex, our oh-so-perfect HOA president. Her eyes didn't even flicker when my son's head hit the ground or when Maverick's desperate yelps turned to nothing but bubbles under the water. If you'd told me then that 4 minutes later Black Hawk helicopters would be circling her mansion and the quiet AT guy she'd been tormenting would blow her life to pieces, well, even I would have called that a stretch. But you'd be surprised what you're capable of given the right push. Let me back up a sec, because stories like this, they shape real families, not just headlines. We moved to Meadowbrook Estates thinking we'd found our forever home. Ezra has severe epilepsy, and after years of bouncing around, this place seemed perfect. Friendly neighbors, tree-lined streets, even a school that got it with special needs kids. We didn't know Karen saw families like ours as stains on her vision board of suburban utopia, but man, we learned fast. Ezra's seizures are terrifying, 3-4 a week, and every single one feels like you're balancing your life on the edge of a razor. Maverick, his golden retriever superhero, wasn't just a pet. He was medical equipment, but also a friend, a bodyguard, and in Ezra's world, a comic book legend. Kid drew these wild stories, the adventures of Superdog Maverick, all crayon lightning bolts and wild rescues. To him, they weren't fantasies. They were proof that he could survive. Maverick changed our lives overnight. He could sense a seizure minutes before it hit, pacing, nudging Ezra off the stairs, becoming a warm cushion when chaos exploded. For the first time in years, Ezra slept through the night. He started being just another kid, not the sick kid. There was a stretch, a whole 3 weeks, where everything felt normal. That's when Karen first showed up. Clipboard in hand, white tennis outfit, so crisp it made my Target tee look like a rag. She stood in our driveway, Mercedes angled like a blockade, and rattled off violations, unleashed dog liability issues. The kind of stuff that makes you wonder if she sleeps on a pillow of HOA bylaws. I tried to explain, showed her Maverick's vest, the federal ADA cards, the whole 9 yards. She just scribbled, said federal law didn't supersede HOA covenants. Her smile didn't reach her eyes, and her message was crystal clear: maybe this neighborhood isn't the right fit for your family. After that, the paper trail started. Official letters, emergency board meetings, flyers about fake service dogs. It all built up every week, getting nastier. She called us an ongoing nuisance, handed out lies about dog waste we'd cleaned up, demanded vaccination records we'd already given, cited Maverick for barking the sound that more than once had saved my son's life. Then came that Saturday, humid and heavy air, thick enough to chew. Ezra's in the yard tossing a tennis ball, Maverick by his side. I'm inside making breakfast when the gate slams. Karen strutting across our lawn like she owns the planet, shouting, "This ends today, Ezra." Bless him, just says good morning, totally oblivious to the storm heading his way. Karen ignored him, fixated on Maverick with a look I'll never forget. The dog started circling, already sensing trouble. Then out of nowhere, Karen lunged, grabbed Maverick's vest fingers, digging into the equipment that kept Ezra safe, and yanked. "Stop," I yelled, but she was hauling Maverick toward the neighbor's pool, right through a gap in the fence, moving fast for someone who probably pays someone else to carry her groceries. Ezra, seeing his best friend attacked, started to seize hands, trembling, eyes rolling. Karen, honest to God, called us defective, spat out mutts like this don't belong here. Then shoved Maverick into the pool with a force that sent my stomach to my shoes. The splash echoed like a gunshot. Now I've got a split second my son convulsing on the concrete, or his dog drowning under medical gear in deep water. Time slowed. Neighbors gathered, some filming on their phones, others yelling for someone to do something. I didn't think. My old military training took over. I dove in fully clothed, hauled Maverick 65 pounds of wet, terrified golden retriever out of the water, and the moment his paws hit the ground, he stumbled straight to Ezra, pressing against him, doing what he was trained to do. But the seizure lasted longer than normal, and Ezra's head was bleeding from the fall. Maverick's vest, my $15,000 worth of medical tech, was sparking dead. Karen screamed that I was trespassing, threatened to call the cops, while I knelt in the grass, soaked to the bone, holding my son and his lifeline, feeling something inside me break. Neighbors started to turn on her. Some offered help. Others whispered, a few openly filmed. Karen just shouted, if they'd followed the rules, none of this would have happened. The cruelty in her voice was next level. But the real turning point, I realized this wasn't just harassment, it was attempted murder of a service animal and endangerment of a disabled child. Karen had crossed the Rubicon. I carried Ezra inside Maverick, glued to his side, ignored the stares and the murmurs. Inside, the post-seizure routine took over, quiet lights low, constant monitoring. But as I cleaned the blood from Ezra's scalp and Maverick curled at his feet, I reached for a phone I never wanted to use for family business. There's a network, one most people never hear about. I made a call. This is Raptor 6, Priority Alpha. The cavalry was coming. I watched Karen from the window, still strutting in her backyard, totally oblivious to the fate about to land literally on her precious lawn. First I heard it, a distant rumble, not traffic, not thunder, but the unmistakable sound of military rotors. My son perked up, curiosity replacing confusion. "Papa, what's that noise?" I squeezed his hand. "Justice me ho." That's what it sounds like. The first Black Hawk crested the trees, flanked by a convoy of armored vehicles that looked as out of place on our street as a spaceship. Karen's face in her sliding glass door went from smug to pale to finally afraid. 12 operators in full gear dismounted, moving with the kind of quiet purpose that means business. Sergeant Marcus Chen, an old friend, rendered a salute. "Major Rodriguez, we received your Priority Alpha call. What's the situation?" I pointed at Karen's house. "That woman tried to murder my son's service dog and triggered a life-threatening seizure in a federal dependent. Civilian witnesses evidenced the works." Chen didn't blink. "Ma'am, he called through a loudspeaker. Exit your residence immediately. This is a federal investigation." Neighbors lined the street. FBI, Child Protective Services, DOJ, all rolled in, cameras everywhere. Karen still tried to bluster, tried to drop her titles and connections. But the feds don't play. They read her rights right there on her ruined lawn. Assault on a federal dependent, destruction of medical equipment, child endangerment, hate crime enhancement. Karen's HOA power meant nothing. When they clicked those cuffs, the crowd actually applauded. No joke, old Mrs. Patterson gave a little cheer. You ever see someone realize in real time that their entire universe is built on sand? That was Karen. Her lawyers were outmatched, her connections worthless. My son testified via video. Mrs. Essex tried to hurt Maverick because she didn't like that I need help with my seizures. But I forgive her because Maverick taught me everybody deserves second chances. The courtroom went silent. Even the judge choked up. Jury didn't take long, guilty on every count. Karen got 15 years federal, no loopholes. Fines paid for new equipment, therapy, and a program to train service dogs for other families like ours. The wildest twist Karen changed in prison? She trained service dogs for other inmates, wrote children's books about acceptance. And when she got out, she started a nonprofit for military families with disabled kids. She even came to see Ezra years later to apologize, and my boy, wise beyond his years, told her, "I hope you learn to like dogs. Maverick could teach you." Meadowbrook Estates. It changed too. The HOA's gone now. We have a real community council. Property values went up, not down. Once a year, we host a service dog day, and Karen, believe it or not, volunteers telling her story, so other kids never have to go through what Ezra did. Maverick's a local hero, training pups that'll go on to save other kids. Sometimes late at night, I watch Maverick beside Ezra's bed, always listening, always ready. I think about that morning, the splash, the pain, the hate. And I realize the true victory isn't Karen in prison. It's turning her malice into purpose. Ezra and Maverick changed the law literally. Congress passed an act to protect service animals nationwide because of what happened to us. So yeah, the helicopters are gone, but justice still hovers over this place. Our neighborhood learned that real strength isn't about rules or appearances, but how you treat the most vulnerable. And if you ever wonder what it means to be a real community, well, come by for Service Dog Day. You'll see it in every wagging tail, every grateful parent, and every neighbor who finally gets it. Now I gotta ask, what would you have done in my shoes? Was justice served, or did it go too far? Drop your thoughts below, because sometimes the only way a community gets better is by talking about the hard stuff out loud together.